Welcome. Today I'll be joined by writer and director Dave Franco to talk about his new film, Somebody I Used to Know. Congrats on the film, man. I watched it twice. I really enjoyed it.
You watched it
I
twice.
watched it twice. I watched it
Come
twice.
on.
I watched it twice.
Tell me what motivated you to watch it that second time.
It's a lot of heavy stuff going on, and I wanted to laugh. Like I wanted to laugh. I love a rom-com. In my position, um, uh, right now I'm writing a book that is very heavy and full of a lot of historical pain and trauma, and it was a fun break. So I watched it by myself, then I watched it again with my wife. So it was
That's
just up.
amazing, man. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Tell me how the project came together.
Yeah, so my wife and I we wrote the movie together, and we're both just massive fans of romantic comedies, and we wrote it at the very beginning of COVID lockdown, and at that time the movies that we were watching were either romantic comedies or other movies that were very uplifting and positive. It was all I could really stomach at the time, and so we just kind of thought like let's put our own version of that out into the world and try to spread a little positivity.
So, for people who are going to be watching this and reading the write up that we do, just give them a little bit about the premise of the
Yeah,
film without, but don't give too much away because we
sure.
really want people to see the film.
So yeah, it's about this character played by my wife, Alison Brie. She's a workaholic. She has a crisis in her at her job, and she goes to her hometown to kind of lick her wounds. And while she's there, she runs into her ex-boyfriend. This is kind of the one that got away, played by Jay Ellis, and they have this kind of whirlwind, amazing night together. And Allison's character starts to think like, oh man, he's the answer to all my problems. And in that moment, she finds out that he is getting married that weekend, and she decides to stick around, and things get weird.
What is it like working with your wife on a project so close? How do you separate the work and the?
It's honestly hard to create boundaries. That's like the one difficult thing about this, is that when we're working on something like this, it really is all encompassing, and we find ourselves like talking a little bit too much about the movie and forget to like check in with each other to be like, how are you outside of the movie? Like, how's everything going? But like, aside from that, it's the best. Like, we just have very similar sensibilities, and more than anything, I just trust her, and I genuinely believe she's one of the best actresses, and so she makes my job very easy in that way.
That's the only way to tell if you really have like a healthy relationship and if you're actually a good person is to do a project that people are investing in with your wife. Because if you try
Yeah,
to bully like your perspective, then wait, I might not be a good husband.
I mean, yeah, when you're under these high stress scenarios of a movie and it goes on forever, like, yeah, if there are any cracks in the relationship, those cracks are gonna show eventually. And so, again, like, a lot of people ask us, like, how was it working together? And a lot of them say it in kind of a skeptical tone. You did not. Which leads me to believe that you maybe could imagine working with your own partner. But a lot of people who are skeptical, I think it's them imagining, like, you know what? I don't think I could do it with my own partner.
My wife bullies me. She's on numbers. I'm on art. And normally the numbers
That's a good
people,
balance, though.
yeah, the numbers people they crush us artists, but we live. The last time I talked to you, you had directed a horror film,
Yeah.
and now you're doing this rom com. Was it like a better experience on set? Did you guys have a lot of fun?
You know what? Both were pretty amazing. I feel lucky to say that. But I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I really take my time putting the whole team together. Where, of course, I want talented people, but it's just as important to me that everyone is nice and hardworking. And so it takes a little bit longer to put the team together when you want everyone to meet that criteria. But at the end of the day, I'm looking around on these sets and I'm surrounded by just the greatest people who just make my job easy. And I don't need to micromanage anyone. I'm a fan of all these people. And so I can just kind of, for the most part, stay back and just be a cheerleader and encourage them to do what they're great at.
Absolutely. That is so important because like you said, it is a high stressful
Yeah.
situation to be in. and it's insufferable people could just suck all the fun out of everything,
Even just one,
even
honestly,
just one.
even just one. They suck it out of you, and like I'm telling you, every single position on this movie, I was like, I want three glowing reviews about everyone before they come on.
You know, what I really, really like about the film is that you have moments where it's extremely funny. There's some really funny scenes. We're not, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna like give any spoilers on the sex
Yeah.
scenes and all of that, but it gets really funny and awkward, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But then it gets heavy when we're
Mhm.
trying to like experience complex family dynamics.
Yeah.
Could you speak to the balance of that?
Yeah, so I think over the years, what I even realized about kind of when I'm acting in a comedy, uh, like when I'm acting opposite someone like Seth Rogen or Jonah Hill, who are some of the funniest guys on the planet. At first, I was like, oh man, how am I gonna keep up with these guys? And I quickly realized like that's not my job. That's not the way I excel. I think I do my best work when I'm just opposite one of these guys and I play it very straight, very earnest, and let the comedy almost come from that. And so I almost use that approach to this film as well, where the comedy is coming more from the characters and the situations as opposed to like throwing out a bunch of one-liners. And when you're doing comedy in the way that we did it, it makes it so it's a little easier to kind of seamlessly transition back and forth between comedy and drama because whatever even in these comedic moments everyone's playing it very truthfully, very grounded, as opposed to if we were throwing out a million jokes and then all of a sudden we're in this like heavy scene where people are crying. That juxtaposition might feel a little more jarring. Does that make sense?
It's real life. In real life,
Yes.
there's not always a one-liner. Sometimes funny shit happens. I was a
Yes.
kid. When I was a kid, I got caught up in a house raid. I was in a spot that I shouldn't have been in. And my older brother was out the back. He was out the back window and down a fire escape. And this guy named Keon, his friend, wasn't there. So he was like, "Well, shit, I gotta go back and get Keon."
Yeah.
So he goes back in the house. Keon's standing there, and mind you, we're kids, so they were like in maybe like the ninth grade. I was like in elementary school.
Yeah.
Keon's in the bathroom trying to flush a gun down the toilet, and my brother said, "Fuck, what are they teaching it? We're all going to jail." There's no one liner for that, so I get it. It's real life. It's
Uh,
real life. It's real life.
Amazing. Are you guys still friends with Keon?
Fuck, hell no. Can't go far with that mentality. Yeah, so, attempt. I wouldn't be here. Attempting to break up a wedding is classic, right? And I feel like every married person, you're a married guy, I'm a married guy. Every married person we have those thoughts leading up to the wedding day. Like, this is the rest of my life. I
Mhm.
want to get this right. Um, did you draw from any personal experiences when you were creating these characters?
Definitely. Not necessarily in that sense, specifically, but like absolutely. The overarching story is not taken from our lives, but there are so many scenes or moments or characters that are directly ripped from our lives. Like for example, Allison's character has a penchant for streaking and being nude and all of that. And the truth is, that's how Allison is. She's a very naked person. And actually, in college, she went to a very progressive school where one of the rules was um, you don't have to be clothed anywhere except the cafeteria. And so she kind of ran with that literally and figuratively and would streak across campus just to make her friends laugh. And so it all felt very natural to her and weirdly became this nice theme for the movie where at the beginning of the movie her character is like very buttoned up and a little fierce, right? And by the end, it's all out for the world to see and she's kind of back to like her purest self.
If I saw a family member or a friend about to marry a person that I thought they shouldn't marry, I think I would like fake a seizure.
It's
What would you do?
that's such a difficult position because if you say something, that friend never forgets. and like they're likely, I mean, there's a good chance they're gonna stay with this person for a long time, and they just don't forget you coming up to them and being like, hey, are you sure about this? And so you almost can't say anything. But I've had friends who have been in terrible relationships. They weren't about to get married, but they've been in bad relationships. And thinking back, these are some of my best friends. I didn't say anything because you can't. You can't.
You can't.
And after the fact, you can then talk about it. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think you have to say something? What can you do?
If the marriage lasts, like, I think a good quality marriage would last about 25 years. So if they do 25 years and divorce on their 26th anniversary, you're an asshole. If they do 24 years, you were a good friend. So it's all about hitting that mark. It's about hitting that mark.
25 years is a lot. That's a big mark, man.
All right. Well, we're speaking in Hollywood terms. If they do 5 years, it's a great marriage.
That's right.
But I think I don't know what's appropriate. Like I don't know what's appropriate because you're right. You say something, they could say like you jinxed it or you never wanted to see us win, and you're just trying to be a good friend. And sometimes people think the answer to terrible relationships is marriage or a kid,
Sure.
and it doesn't necessarily work like that.
No, that'll never work. That's
That's
never
like
gonna solve a
flushing the
bad
gun.
relationship.
We'll call that flushing the gun down the toilet. That's what we'll have to call
I
that
love
one.
it.
One thing I respect about you a lot is that you built a career where you are able to work with your wife and work with I know Danny Pudi's a friend,
Yeah.
and I wanted to know how good does it feel to be able to be surrounded by people who you love and respect.
It's the best. I truly couldn't ask for anything more at this point. I mean, the fact that me and my wife get to build these projects from the ground up and have control over bringing some of our friends who we know and love, like it's incredible. For so many reasons, like not just for like quality of life while we're on set, but also, when you have people that you really feel comfortable with, you do your best work. You feel safe to take risks and just put yourself out on a limb, knowing they're never going to judge you. And so, yeah, I always want to go forward and just continue to work with those types of people.
I know you are in full promo mode right now, but is there anything else you're working on that we
Yeah,
should know
we got some
about?
stuff. I mean, me and my wife, we can't stop, and we just want to keep trying to find things to do together. And so we got a few things in development, in different capacities. We got one thing to potentially act in together. We got another one that maybe me to direct, her to act in. I can't say any specifics yet, but send us some good energy while we try to take these things out and sell them.
Sending you all the good energy. Can you please tell everyone where they can see this film?
Before I do that, I have one more question for you. Tell
Oh,
me, how was the experience watching the film by yourself and then compared to watching with your wife? Was it different?
yeah, it was different. It was different. So watching it myself, I'm looking for themes. I'm being caught off guard, so I'm laughing, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm developing a conversation around the work. Watching
Yes.
it with her, I'm just kicking back, and we're just talking about all of the different things we think about when we before we got married, when we go to our friends' weddings, when we have the
Oh, fun.
conversation around relationships. I and again, I don't want to get too deep into the film because I really want people to see the film.
Yeah.
But there was a really, really good moment where Jay Ellis got a chance to see himself.
Yes.
And he saw that he was being a person that he didn't want to be. And
Yes.
there was a piece of there was an accountability piece, something that a lot of us, especially when we have success and money and
Hmm.
resources, the accountability scale kind of shrinks. It's like, wait a second, I make enough money to commit crimes and not go to jail. I make enough
Totally,
money
man.
to skip
Totally.
the line at the coffee shop, and people lose that. So I think he saw himself, and I think it's a healthy lesson. And I think we both looked at ourselves and just thought about different opportunities where we could just fall back and see ourselves, because it's difficult because everybody wants to be a good person and see
Definitely,
themselves as a
man.
good person.
I love everything you're saying, and like, one of our intentions going into this project was we don't want there to be any villains. Like, yes, they're all flawed. Some of them are making questionable decisions, but at the end of the day, they're good people. They're just going through a difficult time in their lives, and they're trying to like get back to the best version of themselves. But yeah, man, I appreciate you saying all that.
Yeah, it was a great film. We got to make sure people know when it comes out and where they can see it.
All right, comes out February 10th. This is Somebody I Used to Know. Check it out on Prime Video.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.